Right. Where are we going?
I don't know. Where's good for you? Where do you normally go with Chico?
I would probably go to Clissold Park.
You want to walk that way?
Yeah. If that's. I mean, Highbury Fields is okay as well, but it's just so crowded
Yeah.
and boring when you've done it like
What
1,000 times.
has your experience of walking the dog in lockdown been different from how it was before? Because presumably, like, when you have a dog, you just have to walk them a lot anyway, right? That's the thing.
Well, yeah, lockdown's been good for him because he's had loads of people around, and he sort of seemed a bit surprised really by that. And lots of people who had to go out to take exercise because they weren't really moving otherwise, and so he sort of has on some days got a few bonus walks, but it's been difficult to isolate really. It's been, you're supposed to have him on the lead,
Right.
and when the weather's nice there are so many people around that I stopped doing it and started going out at 6:30
Yeah.
in the morning to avoid the crowds, which was quite good. But it's still surprisingly full in Highbury Fields at 6:30 a.m. Have you got a dog?
No. We got 2 cats. They don't need walking. Although I'd like to. I had an idea that we should suggest to the council that Highbury Fields is like once a month cat day, and all the dogs have to stay in and we get to take our cats out onto Highbury Fields on leads to like hang out with each other. Problem is, cats really hate each other, so
Look, I mean,
I don't think it would work.
as a dog owner, I'm absolutely behind that initiative. I'd just love to see it.
Can you imagine like 200 cats on leads just going mental?
Going mental, exactly, and the owners sort of standing in little groups, shrugging.
Exactly. My friend got a kitten and he lives in a flat, so the kitten hasn't been out its whole life and it's on its own, and he said, can I bring the kitten round for a play date with your cats? I was like, it really just doesn't work that way with cats. That's not going to fly.
Yeah, I wonder what would happen.
I think a lot of hissing and arched backs.
Probably, and just general apathy.
So how long have you been in Highbury Hill?
For 12 years.
What do you want to do?
How long do you...
I'm fine.
Yeah, let's go to Clissold Park.
Let's do that.
We lived here for 12 years. But we've lived in Highbury for longer than that, for about 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, we lived in Lucerne Road and then Gillespie Road.
Right. And where were you before that?
Well, I come from South East London, so I grew up in Blackheath and Greenwich, and which was nice, but transport-wise, especially in those days, it wasn't very good. And I always planned to live near a tube when that became feasible.
So was that in some way a kind of betrayal, like moving from south to north?
It was more of a relief, really. Although I did like it, it was, in some ways, it was, in practical terms, it was much better. And one stage we moved into a house almost next to the tube, which was taking things a bit far. It was a stone's throw away, and actually somebody did once throw a stone through our window from the tube.
To prove it.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with that phrase is it's definitely ambiguous. It depends on who's throwing the stone, I guess, doesn't it?
Yeah. What you mean? It could be someone throwing it at my house, or it could be me throwing it at the tube.
No, I more meant like as a measure of distance.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a good point.
If it was like Fatima Whitbread or something, then
we could have moved further away.
We're just moving a Fatima Whitbread stone's throw away from the tube. That would be confusing for like estate agents' listings. Just a stone's throw from the tube.
That's right.
That's good.
And what about you? How long have you lived here?
I'm just turned 44 a few days ago, and I moved to Highbury when I was 20. I came to London from North Yorkshire and to go to university at UCL, and I lived in halls of residence for a year, And then my parents came up with this very generous and brilliant plan to buy a flat as an investment, and the deal was that I would, pay the mortgage. So I had lodgers and had kind of summer jobs while I was a student.
Which street was that in?
That was Battledean Road.
Oh, yeah.
But that was, as you know, like 24 years ago, was not particularly fancy.
Yeah,
it
it's a
wasn't
bit
fancy
different.
at all, actually. Yeah, the whole of Highbury felt so different then. In some ways, I don't know, I suppose being a student, my own experience would be quite different than it is now. That feeling, we would come home drunk from Bethnal Green or whatever, and we'd just walk home and then fall asleep on the fields at like 3 a.m. and kind of, not a care in the world, I guess.
Yeah, certain parts of Highbury retain the 90s charm, but it's changed a lot.
I have difficult feelings about it because I feel like I'm part of the gentrification process that's kind of separated out the kind of fabric of a society here, and yet that kind of interwoven fabric is the very thing that I love about it. So I don't know, I feel a bit confused about that. I feel like maybe it's my fault that there are more fancy cafes that have pushed old businesses out or something.
That's a lot of responsibility to take. There must be other people involved.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, but it's been a very gradual thing. Do you think that the Arsenal stadium redevelopment had an impact on it?
Well, that's interesting. That's very close to you, right?
Yeah, we back onto to Highbury, which when we bought our house was then being redeveloped into the flats that it is now.
Yeah.
And we're very, obviously, like you, very close to the Emirates, which used to be, I don't know if you ever went there, a really sort of Route 1 rubbish tip.
Yeah.
Because now the municipal rubbish tip is really organised.
Yeah.
Everyone's really polite. There are loads of containers and you've got to sort your rubbish, and then you just drove into this great big hall and opened the back of the car and pushed it onto the floor.
Hope for the best.
Yeah, and then got out of the way before the forklift truck came to move it away.
I remember that, and I've been wondering why Tottenham fans don't use that piece of information more. It feels like it's absolutely prime material.
Yeah.
But yeah, the new tip's kind of a joy though.
The what?
The new tip, the new rubbish dump.
Oh, yeah, absolutely impressive.
Are you interested in recycling as a kind of thing?
I find that going to the recycling experience is very cathartic.
Yes.
Because you go, obviously I want to do my bit to save the planet as well.
Yeah, it's not just purely selfish.
No, it's not just to do with the endorphins. But you go there with a load of rubbish and you come out in very short order with a pristine and empty car.
Yes.
And it's a sort of relief to let go of the things that you've held on to for too long.
Yeah, for sure. So you married?
Yes, to Anna.
To Anna. Did you move to Highbury together, or?
Yeah, we did. I think we were renting a flat in Docklands immediately before, and we bought a house together, flat together, and have sort of changed houses a couple of times since then, but always in the same area.
Yeah. Is she from London too?
She's from Jerez de la Frontera in Spain.
Ah. Oh, I know Anna then.
Yeah, no, she knows you, yeah.
Anna, as in I would know her from Canterbury.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
She speaks excellent English and excellent Spanish, obviously, but...
I think she's generally given the epithet Spanish.
Spanish Anna, not inaccurate.
I hadn't connected the two of you.
Yeah, that's me. She knows your wife,
Yes.
I think.
Lucy. Yeah. Definitely. I sometimes feel, and I'm not speaking specifically about Anna, but I sometimes feel a bit sort of unwelcome as a man at the school.
At Canterbury?
Yeah, like not by the school, but by the by the kind of groups of mothers, that I'm an interloper or something. I get a little bit of that feeling. No?
I know what you mean, because I experienced a similar feeling, or the same feeling. I don't think that is their intention.
No.
I think that's just because I don't do it very often.
Right.
And so it feels like I'm a kind of amateur stepping up to the plate. But I think it's just in my mind, really. Everybody's very nice.
Yeah, no, people are nice for sure.
Apart from this one, no, just...
We've made such great friends through that school. Really, surprised me how it's this whole new stash of potential friends that you can make. I guess based on your common experience of having your kid in a class together or whatever is the starting point. But yeah.
Yeah, we made some good friends at Canterbury as well. Our youngest son doesn't go to Canterbury though, he goes to St John's.
Okay.
The others went to...
The one that I met?
Yeah. The others all went to Canterbury.
What are they up to now?
They're much older. One's in the second year at Bristol University and one's in the lower sixth at Camden Girls' School, although he's a boy, but they let boys in the sixth form.
Is your Bristol kid in Bristol?
He's not, he's in our house.
Oh, okay.
When it became apparent that there was going to be a strict lockdown, I talked him into coming home. Didn't take much persuasion, actually. And because it's just much easier. Because there was a period when it was quite difficult to buy stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a minute there, yeah, for sure. It felt like everything might just sort of collapse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It's sort of, the whole thing has turned out to be so much less bad than the worst predictions had suggested. And, not to minimise how bad it has been, but it leaves us in this quite weird place of wondering whether, how much worse it would have been if we hadn't have done the lockdown, or indeed how it could have been approached differently, I don't know. But
yeah, it just, to me, it all seemed a little bit reactionary. I suppose you are reacting to events inevitably, but it's sort of, they changed their strategy a bit and then did things a bit too late, maybe.
Yeah, it seems like it. It's one of those things that I guess we'll be talking about for a long time, but already feels a bit boring.
Yeah.
Sort of, I don't know, not boring. Again, that sounds so callous, that's not what I mean. I guess what I mean is that until we've got real hard research to start talking about, everything's so speculative that it just almost feels a bit pointless.
Yeah, that's right. And it's difficult to judge the statistics that come out from different countries because it seems like in lots of cases there are different ways of measuring and presenting them.
Yes, totally.
But in time, I suppose that will get fixed and it will give people a clearer picture of what happened in each country and maybe why.
I hope so. I mean, my firm wish is that doctors and scientists around the world, are really encouraged to come up with some coordinated research over the next couple of months, because that feels like the most important thing we could be doing, really, in my mind. But I don't know whether that kind of coordination is actually happening.
Yeah, who knows? I'm sure it's happening at some level. Whether it's happening internationally, really, I don't know. How have your kids fared? How's the lockdown been for them?
They've been all right. Our older boy Noah is he's very sort of contained and self-sufficient sort of a person, I would say. So really, he's pretty happy. The younger one is very social, and I think he struggles a lot more.
Yeah.
I think it's golden for him to be able to speak to a friend on a video chat, or even better to sort of see them in real life. And I think not being at school is really starting to wear on him, especially when we tell him he's not allowed to play video games.
I know, because it's tempting, isn't it? Because it's just an instant solution.
Well, I believe it's a good thing in the sense that it is a kind of socialising. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only person saying this. In fact, I know I'm not, because I was listening to Louis Theroux's new podcast. He was talking to Helena Bonham Carter and saying what I was thinking too, which is that it's not like they're sitting on their own in their rooms playing some sort of solo first-person shoot-'em-up. They've got like 3 friends on the computer screen next to them, and they're chatting and bantering and, you know, talking rubbish. So in a sense, it's really not that different from kicking a ball in the park. It's just there's no exercise involved.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a much more sociable thing than it used to be, and I can see how addictive it is. So I just avoid playing it.
Yeah,
personally, but so I'd probably just get addicted.
Do you think that about yourself generally, that you would get addicted to that kind of thing, or stuff?
Yeah, anything really.
Really?
Anything that's nice. Yeah, just incredibly weak. And actually, no, that's not true. I don't know. Weak's not the right word, because I've sort of successfully given up various things, but the temptation is considerable, and I remember once, I think when I was about 19 or 20, no, 22 I think I was, I just left university and I was unemployed, living with a couple of friends, and Anna actually, in a flat in Islington that my parents owned. And one of these friends had a PC, a 486, which at the time was sort of state-of-the-art consumer computer, and he had a game on it, and I seem to remember at the end of the game, I played the game until I completed it, and you had to shoot, I think you had to shoot Nazis in it, and at various levels, and the more you progressed through it, the bigger they got. And I eventually beat the game, and the game at the end had these stats for how long I'd been playing. And it was, I can't remember how long, but many tens of hours.
Wow.
And I just thought, no, I'm not doing that again.
I had a similar experience with World of Warcraft. Do you know that one?
No.
It's a game where, you know, hundreds of people are all playing it at once, and it's in this like giant fantastical world, and your little avatar is a warrior or a goblin or something. And I got completely addicted to that. I remember being awake still in bed with my laptop, like burning a hole in my thighs at sort of 3 a.m. And Lucy like woke up and she goes, "You're still playing that thing?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I am." I shut the lid and put it to one side. And then about 20 seconds later, I picked it back up again and just deleted the game, because I was just like, that's the only way. I've got to just stop.
Yeah, no, that's the way. And then you probably didn't really miss it after you've taken that decision.
Not at all.
It's addictions are often just very psychological, I think, and not really. You believe that they're physical, but they're not really.
Well, it is mood altering, I think. You know, even playing video games is. I suppose there's an attraction to that, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Sorry, hay fever.
Yeah, I'll accept that.
Unclean! These sort of dystopian visions that people keep talking about, like someone was telling me that the Gates Foundation is coming up with an app that they're building in conjunction with Google that everyone will be forced to download, and it like buzzes in your pocket if someone nearby has COVID.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, that just sounds like the worst.
It's going to be going off all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just appalling. And you know, the idea that the person who has COVID, you know, like a sort of red sign appears above their head. Beware.
Yeah, then you would, not you, some people would then perhaps start shaming the person with COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's
sequestering them.
Yeah, it's made people a bit officious, I think. Not everybody, obviously, but some people just love, they've been turned into amateur policemen. Sorry, Adam, just the joys of dog ownership.
Oh, that's all right.
I got told off. We went to Borough Market to buy some stuff.
Oh yeah.
On the weekend, I got told off by a couple of people.
For what? What was their beef?
I don't know. Taking too long to buy something was one thing. He may have been right, this guy. But I didn't know he was waiting, and he was so rude. I mean, it was just unbelievable. He could have just said, "Excuse me, do you mind hurrying up?" He was abusive.
Oh God.
And then someone else who took issue with me standing by the exit with the dog. Too close.
Don't you think that we've got a bit of a problem negotiating these kind of social mores as British people? You know, we're quite bad at it. I was talking to Claire, I think. She was saying that when she's out for a walk here with the dog in Clissold Park and she gets to like a gate and there's someone coming towards her, she's now got to a point where she literally just puts her hand up and goes like that.
Oh, really?
Wait, you know, like that. But for British people, that takes quite a lot of kind of energy to believe.
Too confrontational.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, we're not very good at that. Everyone's too polite, except for, in fact, that the person who was rude to me wasn't British. But
maybe that'll be a big thing for us. We'll be like trying to figure out how to sort of firmly say what we want
without annoying people.
Without annoying people.
Yeah. That's a difficult thing. We could give it a go. Give it a go now. Get hospitalised.
With a smile. A kind of rictus grin. Please, would it be all right if you were to stand a bit further away from me? Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's tricky. I'm sure we'll get better at it because it looks like we've got quite a lot of a long time to practice.
Yeah.
I noticed in your front garden you've got a Tesla.
Yeah.
That's nice. How do you find that?
It's good, but you definitely have to bear in mind the whole charging issue. We've been caught out a couple of times not having enough charge to get home.
Really? So you had to get towed?
No, we just end up having to sit because it's only the superchargers that charge it really quickly.
Yeah.
The kind of overnight chargers take hours. So on one occasion I mistook a charger for a supercharger that turned out to be a slow charger. So we just ended up having to sit in like a car park for several hours. That was just a simple mistake.
At those moments your choice of vehicle seems not as good. Yeah, I've got an electric car as well.
Have you?
Yeah, we've got a Nissan Leaf.
Oh, cool.
It's really great for driving around London it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so much nicer to drive.
Yeah.
And you never have to go to a petrol station. But if you want to do anything like a remotely long journey, it's a bit of a pain.
Yeah, we were going to be going to Devon for the weekend in a couple of weeks' time, which we're obviously now not going to be doing, and it was really becoming a question of how would we do it.
Wouldn't your car get there?
Maybe, but it didn't look like there were any superchargers down there.
Yeah.
It can create this sort of hassle where you have to drive half an hour to get to the supercharger, or an hour or whatever.
And it takes too long if you just plug it into the mains.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you could do that overnight, couldn't you? I haven't actually done that yet. Maybe that's something I should learn.
I've done it a few times. It's
Have you?
incredibly slow, but but sort of if you do it overnight with our battery, it'll do it. It'll get it back up to 100.
What do you do for work?
I have a company that makes cool training videos and courses, online courses for other companies. And in fact, today I was doing a storyboard for something about the future of personal mobility.
Oh yeah.
Like how we're going to get around in the future, in the not very distant future really. And Tesla was an important part of it for the way it's already changed the car market and perceptions of electric vehicles, and now everybody's doing the same thing.
Yeah, I guess all the manufacturers will be introducing electric vehicles pretty soon, right?
Yeah, I think they all are, yeah. But there'll be loads of other things, like you'll be able to, there'll be an app on your phone that you'll be able to sort of just say where you want to go, a bit like Google Maps, I suppose, except that it will instead of just telling you the route, it will organise all the travel for you, and then a driverless taxi will appear at your front door and take you off to, I don't know, a drone port or whatever it's going to be called. And
how does that kind of future thinking apply to your training video business?
Well, that particular thing is just a sort of informative course about, or series of videos about that explain this. this change. That course is mainly for energy companies,
Right.
because of course those kinds of trends have an impact on them.
Yeah. That sounds like a fun business to be in.
It can be.
You can think quite freely about big societal stuff.
Yeah,
It's get quite philosophical.
yeah. I never really have enough time for getting too philosophical. I'm just always so busy, but
Really?
yeah.
Or busy actually making the videos.
Doing that, and just sort of our company's quite small, but of late we've had quite a lot of work to do, and for the stuff that we make, because we think the market will be interested in it, and for stuff that other people ask us to make because they need it, and so we're just sort of always busy, always doing the latest project, whatever that is.
Is your philosophical beard is that a lockdown beard, or is that a normal fixture?
It used to be a bit more normal. I grew it about, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago or something. I grew a bit of a beard, but it was always quite trimmed.
Yeah.
But since the lockdown, I thought, well, I'll just see how long it will get.
Yeah.
And it's getting a bit too long, actually. It's getting...
I mean, who says? How long is too long?
That's true. Back to Fatima Whitbread, and
Yeah, exactly.
I don't mean that she had a beard.
I think that's what you were saying. If she had a husband, would that be her beard?
If Fatima had a husband,
Because she was gay, I think.
yeah, maybe.
Can it work that way around? Like, you know how a gay man has a wife or a girlfriend who's his beard?
Yeah, actually, I'd forgotten that. Now you've said that, I vaguely remember the use of the word in that way. What does it mean?
That's all it means. It's like if you're gay and you're trying to pretend that you're not, and you claim to have a girlfriend or a wife,
Right.
that girlfriend or wife is not called your beard. Yeah.
Right. That's your beard.
I don't really know why.
Google may know.
Probably, yeah. Did you listen to, I don't know if you listen to podcasts, but there was a sort of follow-up Elon Musk, Joe Rogan interview.
Oh, really? I haven't
Just
listened to
came
that.
out about 3 or 4 days ago. It's really good. It's really interesting. Just thinking of Tesla.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely give that a listen, actually. They're good interviews.
Yeah, this is a really good one, and it's interesting to see how exasperated Elon Musk is with the whole coronavirus lockdown in California, and well, they just opened their factories again, didn't they? I think this week, and his kind of reasoning for that.
And he's not really shy about expressing his opinions, is he? He's quite controversial.
Yeah, I like that though. I like hearing his logic around it. You know, I think it's good to hear those kinds of opinions as well. Not necessarily to agree with, but
Yeah,
to get you thinking a bit.
well, he's definitely a visionary.
Yeah, one of the things he said really stuck with me, which is that because he's announced that he's selling everything. He's got all these houses, but he's going to sell them all.
Right.
Doesn't want to have anything anymore because he doesn't want to be criticised for being someone that owns loads of stuff. So he's like, well, if I sell it all, then no one can criticise me about that anymore. And he's just going to rent one house. But he was talking about how he bought a whole load of houses in a little neighbourhood
Right.
on top of a hill somewhere in the Hollywood Hills, and he was thinking about the project of knocking them all down and turning this property into like his dream house, you know, with a kind of domed roof that opens up and your helicopter comes out, and you know, all that sort of stuff. And then he thought to himself, the amount of time and energy, or the way he put it, brain cycles, that I would have to put into making that my dream house seemed like such a kind of waste, given that I, you know, could be putting that into getting us to Mars. So he's like, I'm forgetting about the dream house. I'm just going to keep going with the Mars thing.
Yeah, I think I would probably just go for the dream house.
Yeah.
Think, the Mars thing, it was a nice idea, but a bit difficult.
Yeah, exactly. So is your path, because what you're saying that you do sounds pretty rarefied, like to come to that point. Did you come at it from kind of film production, or?
No, I was a financial journalist,
Right.
and I suddenly became frightened about becoming an old financial journalist.
Right.
And and I started a business with a work colleague who's now a friend, called Ed, and we basically just carried on doing what we had been doing, but for our own company, and it sort of just developed into doing training things because there seemed to be a need for that. But the skills that you needed to write a course were pretty much the same as the skills you need to write an article, and then we just responded to whatever anyone wanted us to make, and that sort of made us go a bit more upmarket in graphics, and well, a lot more actually. And then we found a really good animator and designer in India, and he built up a little team of people, because then we had no money, or very little money, and it was too expensive to use those to source those services here. We found this guy, and he's built up a team of people in Jaipur in Rajasthan, and they're brilliant. They make, you know, whatever we ask them to make, and do sort of immaculate coding and all those other things that they need to do. And then we go to visit them occasionally, which is quite good fun.
That's really cool. How did you make the initial connection
Uh,
to coders in Jaipur?
It was because at that time we started off using, I remember just Googling designer India, thinking that they would speak English, and we'd be able to afford it. And there are loads of offshore, you know, India-based companies that have teams of designers, and you sort of rent their services out by the hour or by the day or whatever. And that's how. And he worked for one of those companies, and then he left the company and offered to set up our own operation there, and we jumped at the chance really. And that's probably about 8 years ago. It definitely adds a different dimension to
That's great.
doing business every day. It's good fun. And what about you? What do you do?
I manage music artists.
Oh,
you
cool.
know, bands and what have you.
Are you a musician, or did you?
No, I was like a classic sort of friend of the band type situation with a band called Keen, who turned out to be really successful. But we were just friends at university to begin with, and then I started to manage more people and built up a little company. My office is on Corsica Street,
Excellent.
which is really nice. Just walk in.
Yeah, not the worst commute.
No, it's really good. Do you have an office space? Do you work from home?
I just work from home. We had an office in Covent Garden, and we just never really went there. So now we do meet up sort of regularly in a business centre in central London, which is nice from time to time.
So you're the kind of prototypical distributed workforce kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
We
great.
used to be really embarrassed about it, you know, because it didn't look like you had a proper company, and then I can't remember when we sort of realised that actually it could be said to be a virtue,
Yeah,
and it's been, you know, helped us a bit in the current situation actually.
I'm sure, yeah.
I hope this walk, I didn't make you walk too far.
No, it's great. I liked it a lot. I feel like I've made the mistake of talking too much, which is something I tend to do.
I don't think you have. I think you got it just right.
Thank you. That's my midlife crisis has kind of instructed me to be more patient and listen more. That's what I'm trying anyway.
Wouldn't bother. It is a bit of a skill, listening, isn't it? It's something you've got to work at. I mean, maybe it comes naturally to some people,
Yeah,
but the instinct to talk and to dominate the conversation can be quite strong.
I feel like the danger for me is that I'm sort of only half listening, and really what I'm thinking about is the next thing I'm going to say in any conversation.
Yeah.
It's not that rewarding. Because what's interesting when you don't do that, and you let your brain be intrigued in the thing that the person's saying, is that you've still got loads of things to say. You know what I mean? It's still interesting.
Yeah.
you're still being interesting. See, that's my concern, is like, if I'm not thinking of the next interesting thing to say, I'll have nothing interesting to say.
Yeah.
And then you'll think I'm boring, or whoever I'm talking to will think I'm boring. And then I'm like, I'm living in this terrible world of people not liking me because I'm so boring.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if you go with it and you just really listen, it turns out it sparks off loads of things for you to say, interesting things. I don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Totally agree. And in fact, the other way may work against you, not you, against one because if it feels to the other person like you're just waiting to say what you want to say, that comes across as boring, I think.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Shutting up and actually listening to what people say is really difficult. I find, because I haven't done this for quite a long time, but I have done a lot of interviews on quite sort of, often quite technical, dry subjects, and you're just, I'm sort of thinking, I've got 45 minutes with this person. What am I going to ask them next? They've kind of answered what I was planning to ask next, so what am I going to say? And you just spend the whole time thinking about what your next question will be, rather than really analysing what they're saying. Do you remember that Emily Maitlis interview with Prince Andrew? I thought that was a really good example of an interviewer. I mean, she's obviously incredibly well prepared going into the interview, but her ability to remain composed during the interview and really forensically ask questions about what he's saying or respond to what he's saying, it's really amazing to be able to do that. I mean, loads of people can do that really well.
Yeah, there's different versions of that, aren't there? She's someone that definitely puts herself, back to help put the other person forward, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But then you've got your Louis Theroux or your Mark Maron type, where it's definitely as much about them as it is about the interviewee. It's like an opportunity to riff and be funny.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and show off, which can be really fun as well. Or Russell Brand, I guess, kind of like that as well.
Yeah, I wish my interviews had been a bit more like that. It would have been quite weird though.
On sort of financial stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the Mark Maron thing, do you listen to his interviews at all?
No, I don't. I actually don't know who he is.
He's got a podcast called What the Fuck, or WTF, and he's done maybe 1,500 or more interviews now with everyone you can possibly think of out of his garage in LA. And he's a stand-up comedian by trade, but his podcast has become so successful it seems to have given him this real whole new career in a way. He's almost become a kind of personality.
Oh, I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, he's really brilliant. His stand-up's great as well, actually. But I once went to one of his stand-up shows, and I manage Mumford & Sons, and he was talking about his neighbourhood in LA. One of his gags was about how his neighbourhood had been Mumfordized. And I went and talked to him afterwards. I'd queued up with the fans to chat to him afterwards. And you'll see when you investigate him, he's quite sort of, what's the word, irascible. He's quite sort of confrontational. And he just looked at me and he goes, "Yeah, what's your thing? What's your deal?" And I was like, "I manage Mumford & Sons, funny enough. I liked your joke. I thought that was quite funny." And he's like, "Yeah, glad to hear it, man," and walked off. But anyway, he does his sort of format for his interviews with everyone from Barack Obama to when he was president to whoever, Daryl Hannah, is to really dig deep into their family history and where they come from and who their parents were and all of that stuff.
Well, I'm a bit embarrassed not to have heard of him.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, I think it's good. It's really good stuff.
I do listen to a lot of podcasts because I've got an indoor. Well, I've got a bike that goes on one of those stands with a flywheel, and you put your back wheel on it.
Oh yeah.
And then connect to basically a game on the computer called Zwift.
Right.
And usually, several times a week, I will spend an hour at the other end of my study or office just pedalling and listening to podcasts. It is quite nice. You can't get run over.
What do you love? What's your top recommendation?
I wouldn't really recommend it unless you like Arsenal, but the one that I listen to most is Arsecast and Arsecast Extra. But yeah.
My dad has a season ticket.
Does he?
He does, but just one, which I always thought was pretty hilarious. It's like when you put yourself down on the list 14 years ago, it was for one ticket. I mean, so now he goes to every game on his own.
So he lives here too?
Yeah, they live in Canterbury. Well, that was nice, thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no,